Mentioned injuries. To my knowledge, nobody on the team was injured.
The university declined a bid into the NIT tournament on behalf of student athletes with roster uncertainty and injuries. How does the Bonaventure community feel about this?
I feel like if he sees everyone else leaving, he might leave.
6 players remain on the men's basketball team, and 3 players remain on the women's. How is the transfer portal affecting the future of Bonaventure basketball? A potential TikTok ban. The House of Representatives signed a bill that could ban TikTok. What does this mean for Americans?
Friday, late in the day, we'll have some rain and some snow rolling through the area.
Some snowy weather for the first weekend of spring. WKBW Chief Meteorologist Aaron Mankowski brings you the weekend weather. Sbu-Tv starts now.
Good morning and welcome to Sbu-Tv. I'm Johnny's Washington. We begin today with updates to the NIT tournament with Sydney Labieski. Sydney?
Thanks, Johnny's. And hey, everyone, I'm Sydney Labieski, and we have a lot of Bonnie's basketball news to unpack. First, the beloved NIT tournament. Earlier this week, the university declined a bid to play in the tournament. There are a lot of mixed reasons behind the decision and a lot of mixed feelings. Here's what I found.
Issues with him making mistakes at Arizona. I think he paid his dues.
That's the last time the Bonnies went to the NIT tournament back in 2022. The top 2 teams from the top conferences of college basketball, plus the 20 best available teams that did not qualify for the NCAA tournament, make up the NIT tournament.
St. Bonaventure has played in the NIT tournament 2 times in the last 8 years, once in 2016 and once in 2022. So, why aren't they in it this year?
According to Joe Manhertz, the athletic director at Bonaventure, they informed the NIT committee that they would decline a bid into the tournament if one was presented to the team. The team found out this Tuesday, along with the rest of the general public, during the Xavier, Georgia NIT game, that they were among 16 other schools that declined a bid. Manhertz also said they declined specifically due to roster uncertainty and injuries. I spoke with Nathan Solomon, a dedicated Bonaventure basketball student reporter, on this announcement.
And they mentioned injuries. To my knowledge, nobody on the team was injured, right? Like, Noel Brown came out and said he had an ankle issue. That was it. There's no other injuries reported. So in my opinion, that's completely untrue, unless there was some new injuries from the game on Saturday that nobody ever knew about.
The university also released a statement saying that the team would have encountered transportation issues in traveling to the first round of the NIT tournament.
Travel issues. What about the 16 other teams from that participated in the NIT that had to go on the road? They didn't have any travel issues. There's other teams that went out on, 12 hours notice and took a long road trip. There's another team that I have the ability to cover, Cornell. On 12 hours notice, they took an 8-hour bus ride out to Columbus to play Ohio State. They didn't have any travel logistic issues.
This leaves some speculating. Was Mark Schmidt consulted about declining the NIT bid?
At that point, nobody really had any sort of inclination that St. Bonaventure was going to decline an NIT bid because, I covered the A-10 tournament after the game on Saturday after St. Bonaventure lost to Duquesne. One of the reporters asked them, would you entertain an NIT bid or any sort of postseason play? And Schmidt said, yes, absolutely we would.
Lastly, Manhertz stated it would have been hard to motivate the players who have already entered the transfer portal to come back for a few more games.
Also this past week, the college basketball transfer portal opened for athletes. As of right now, 4 men's players, Barry Evans, Kyrell Luke, Melion Martinez, and Chad Venning, entered the portal. And from the women's team, Taylor Napper and Kiara Dandridge entered the portal as well. I stopped some students on their way to class to see how they feel about the transfers, as well as basketball season being over.
Down to 3, tough 3. Oh, the finish!
The Bonnies fought down to the wire against LaSalle and Loyola in the Atlantic 10 tournament. 75-73 against the Explorers and 75-74 against the Ramblers in double overtime. This had Bonnies fans super excited for the team's advancement.
I don't even know. I feel like I was just kind of like, it was more of like a jaw drop excitement. Like I didn't expect this to be happening.
However, the Bonnies fell short to Duquesne in the Atlantic 10 tournament semifinals, 70-60.
From battling for the Atlantic 10 championship, Keith Dambrotz, Duquesne.
After the loss, multiple Bonaventure players entered the transfer portal. Barry Evans, Bonaventure forward, entered the portal first. averaging 3 points and 3.6 rebounds per game. Kyrell Luke was next to enter the portal, averaging 2 points and 1 rebound per game. Melian Martinez entered the portal on Wednesday, averaging 1 point per game and 0.3 rebounds. Chad Venning was the last to enter the portal, averaging 13.4 points and 4.8 rebounds per game. So, how do Bonaventure fans feel about this?
I mean, we only have one starter left right now in Sbu, but God knows where he's going. You know, I feel like if he sees everyone else leaving, he might leave. So we only have like 7 returning guys, 2 of which are walk-ons, 2 of which are red shirts.
The women's team had 2 players enter the transfer portal as well. Sophomore Kiara Dandridge, who averaged 3.2 points and 4.3 rebounds per game. And lastly, junior Taylor Napper entered the portal as well. She averaged 4.5 points and 2.5 rebounds per game. Ryan Lombardi, play-by-play reporter for WSBU 88.3 The Buzz, was taken by surprise by these transfers.
I'm kind of surprised that, they didn't stay, and, Crowley's rebuilding this team. So definitely kind of shocking to see that they're leaving, especially since they've been here for a few years now. But
however, Lombardi has high hopes for the women's team next season.
I think they're going to be really improved next season. Obviously, they already have 6 incoming freshmen ready to start next year. And, with all the NIL, new transfer portal stuff, they're bound to bring in some really good names. And we've seen the success Crowley's had here. So really expecting them to have a good year.
Ramblers down 20 seconds.
And a lot of mixed feelings circulated campus this past week. However, stay tuned for future newscasts for a sit-down interview with Melian Martinez as we go behind the decision of leaving St. Bonaventure. And I know that was a lot, but I'll leave you all to digest with that. Janice, back to you.
Thank you, Sydney. We've had a snowy week here at St. Bonaventure, but will we see some sunshine this weekend? Find out with your weekend weather with WKBW's Chief Meteorologist, Aaron Menkowski.
Hey everyone, I'm Chief Meteorologist Aaron Menkowski with your Sbu-Tv weekend weather forecast for Friday. Late in the day, we'll have some rain and some snow rolling through the area. That wintry mix will change back to snow early on Saturday. Saturday, your high temperature just 34 degrees, but on Sunday, partly cloudy skies with high temperatures back near 40.
Updates have been made following the December 2nd incident where an apartment in Allegheny and one of our own student housing complexes were burglarized by a man who was identified as Marcus A. Norman. Following Norman's attempts to commit an act in the same fashion, months later, on the morning of March 17th, he was finally taken into police custody where he will await his court date. Norman is currently banned from university grounds. Americans could lose access to TikTok if a bill that just passed through the House of Representatives is signed into law. This week, our Anthony Da Silva talks to a political science professor and students about a potential TikTok ban.
Last Wednesday, a bill passed through the House of Representatives that would ban TikTok in the United States if signed into law. Lawmakers have long tried to regulate the platform due to its ties to China. They argue it threatens national security because the Chinese government could use TikTok to spy on Americans or weaponize it to influence the U.S. public. The bill requires the parent company of TikTok, ByteDance, to sell TikTok in 6 months or lose access to app stores or web hosting services in the U.S. The bill now heads to the Senate, which moves slower than the House, who passed the bill in 8 days.
Congress has not had a reputation of being particularly efficient.
But Dr. Mary Rose Kubal thinks this could be something both parties want to get done.
This is one area where there is some bipartisanship. Everybody likes to knock on China these days, right?
And a big question among people is, why are we focusing on TikTok when other platforms have access to the same data?
I feel like a lot of sites nowadays take our information anyway, and it doesn't really affect an average American like myself.
TikTok has repeatedly stated that it would deny requests from the Chinese government for Americans' data. And student Cal Reddington thinks the government should let TikTok be and focus on more important things.
Let it live. I think that it's something that people have used for a while, and it's not a big danger. It's not as important as the government's making it seem. I think there's a lot more issues that need our attention first.
And TikTok being sold would face multiple challenges. Also, the 6-month deadline to sell or ban TikTok could be extended, as there is an ongoing legal battle between TikTok and the United States. From Sbu-Tv, I'm Anthony De Silva.
Some senators have said they want to make sure changes to the House bill, an amended version, would then have to back through the House of Representatives, thus taking longer for the bill to get passed.
And coming up, Bonnie's basketball season may be over, but we'll be taking a look at where home games were held over the years.
Now we're taking a live look at downtown Olean. Seems to be clear, cloudy skies a little bit outside. We'll be right back after this.
As a mom, I want my kids' lives to be filled with joy and possibility, and I want that for every kid. That's why I support No Kid Hungry. They work in schools and communities to make sure every kid gets the healthy meals they need. Please join me in supporting No Kid Hungry for all kids.
Thank you!
The challenges our planet's animals are facing sometimes feel a bit heavy.
The animals haven't eaten in a day, 2 days, they haven't drank anything, they're cold, they're dehydrated.
But remember, there's good happening right now. At home.
All right, we were able to get into your unit and we have all 4 of your cats, so
okay. And around the world for any animal, any disaster. Search ifa.org/disaster ready.
I don't remember how it started.
Go to that.
Our back and forth. It always came back.
Dad!
You probably don't remember what you told me,
that was perfect.
but I heard every word.
What are you doing in there? What's that?
I wouldn't do that. What are you doing? What are you looking for?
Thanks for sticking with us this morning. We're continuing to highlight women-owned businesses in Olean with our segment, She Means Business. This week, I sat down with a speech-language pathologist on how she's making Olean more inclusive.
Sip. Just take a sip. You want a sip?
No.
Oh, I take a sip?
Yeah.
Communication is a huge part of connecting with those around us. Speech-language pathologist Marissa Magro helps give kids the power to communicate.
It's a lot of pressure because some of these kids aren't speaking and their parents want so desperately for them to talk. And I want to take that off of them for sure.
Magro aims to include families like hers in the process through a unique method, play.
Play is literally how children learn. They don't learn from flashcards or sitting down. Nothing replaces the power of learning through connection with a loved one or with someone who cares deeply about you.
In sign language means more. And sign language is just one of the many forms of communication Magro uses to make Olean more inclusive.
The purpose of inclusivity is giving kids who might not be able to participate in something the ability to participate in that thing with their peers. So it's not just saying, okay, everyone's welcome. It's making sure that there's modifications and thought put into the environment so that the children with special needs and disabilities can participate in that activity with their peers.
In the future, Magro hopes that people will have a better understanding of language disabilities and accept those with disabilities.
I think that people don't realize the challenges that a lot of kids with special needs or disabilities have. I'm trying really hard to bring that to light and make more people aware.
Magro's business, Magro Speech Therapy, is the only option in our area for speech therapy.
And recently, there have been a decrease in the future generation of priests. So this week, we sat down with Father David to see how this will affect churches and parishes.
As we try to adjust to that situation, but make sure that a place like St. Bonaventure, that we have a strong mission integration program so that we can continue the Franciscan mission here.
And according to recent research studies, Generation Z is the least religious generation yet.
On Wednesday evening, SBU Asia performed a rendition of Disney's Tangled. The performance included a mix of North and South Indian dances, Vietnamese dances, and more. The club chose Tangled as the theme of the production because it encompasses the identities and stories as part of SBU Asia. The cast and crew, made up of 50 people, practiced since mid-October to put on the production.
And with the men's basketball season coming to a close on Saturday, let's take a look at where the team was more than 60 years ago. Our Tyler White has the details.
Before the Bonnies played in the historic Riley Center, they were winning games out of the Olean Armory. The first game played in the Armory was on March 11th in 1916 with a 51-18 loss to the University of Buffalo. Fast forwarding to 1948, where on December 10th they would beat Geneva 58-48, which would go on to become the first win of a 99-game home win streak, which stretched for 13 years and 13 days, with it coming to an end when Niagara University upset the then second nationally ranked Bonnies with a score of 87-77. Of their 8 total home losses while playing in the Armory, 4 have come at the hands of the Purple Eagles. This streak, which was regarded as one of the most impressive streaks in all of college basketball, gained national attention. With this attention on the Bonnies, many people started to point out the poor conditions of the court, and talk of a home court advantage started circulating. This made it extremely difficult for visiting teams to play without having played here before, earning many nicknames along the way like the Snake Pit, the Ridiculous Little Barn, and even the Disgrace by many journalists of the time. From Sbu-Tv, I'm Tyler White.
And sadly, the Armory closed in 1966, and the team quickly moved to the Riley Center, where they still play today.
When we come back, hear from a retired journalist on tips to handle mental health in the communications field.
And now we take a live look to downtown Olean. The time is 10:17, and traffic's still minor, and the sun is a little bit shining today. We'll be here when we get back.
Jordan knows he shouldn't eat this entire bowl of nachos, but tonight he's earned that right. Because a few hours ago, in the middle of happy hour, he recognized a sign. Not from the gods or a bolt of lightning, but from a double heart, a kissy face, and a fourth ha in ha ha ha. That's when Jordan knew he was buzzed. So when it was time to go, he got a ride home instead of driving. Be a legend like Jordan. Recognize your buzzed warning signs and get a ride home. Buzz driving is drunk driving.
Welcome back to Sbu-Tv on this chilly Friday morning. This week, the Jandoli Women in Communication held a roundtable about mental health and communication. Our Louis Genovese has the story.
St. Bonaventure class of 76 alum Lisa Lewis spoke at the Jandoli Women in Communication Roundtable Tuesday evening to discuss the importance of mental health in the communication industry.
I tried to explain, the expectations, the challenges, the stresses, and the best way to cope with all of these.
Drawing off her own experiences from a 47-year career, Lewis recalled the challenges for communicators in a 24/7 news cycle.
Think dealing with stress, work-life balance, guarding against isolation, and developing a full life.
Lewis suggests journalists set limits on how much content they produce and take up non-work hobbies.
Take a walk, go hiking, go swimming, meet a friend, go to a movie.
The roundtable was organized by JWIC co-presidents Claire Fisher and Ellie Foley, who believe mental health is important for any job.
If you don't have a good mental health, you're going to have probably worse work performance and a worse physical health.
It's so quick to get burnout, and it's so rare to be passionate about your job, and you never want burnout to happen and lose that passion for it.
Mrs. Lewis also advises journalists to take a break from news whenever they can, whether that be putting away the newspapers, turning off your phone notifications, and shutting down the laptops.
Put the phone away. You have to take the remote away. You just need time for yourself. They're better at their jobs, and they serve their audiences, their market, their readers.
For Sbu-Tv, I'm Louis Genovese.
Lewis also advises to maintain personal relationships with friends and family.
And did you know that next week is Holy Week? Our Mackenzie Nolan took a deeper dive into Palm Sunday, the day that begins Holy Week.
Did you know that St. Bonaventure is ranked 25th out of 160 Catholic colleges in America? I'm standing here, right at St. Bonaventure's very own chapel, where soon this place will be flooded with Catholic students and faculty to kick off the beginning of Holy Week, aka Palm Sunday. But what is Palm Sunday and what is Holy Week, and why do students and faculty celebrate it? Let's find out.
Holy Week is the week prior to Easter Sunday. It is something celebrated predominantly by Catholics, commemorating Jesus' last days and crucifixion. Holy Week begins with Palm Sunday. I spoke with Friar Steve, who discussed the history behind Palm Sunday.
We remember Jesus coming into Jerusalem with palms, like the people greeted him with palms. And, he was presented as a king.
St. Bonaventure is preparing for next week by hosting a number of services, including today's Stations of the Cross. On Palm Sunday, St. Bonaventure will have normal Mass hours at 11 a.m. and 7 p.m. What happens at Mass on Palm Sunday?
So we'll hand out palms. So a lot of times people end up taking those palms home and create crosses. Palm Sunday is basically the first reading during Lent of the Passion. So we hear of, what happens to Jesus leading up to his death.
Friar Steve says that roughly 30 people attend the Sunday morning Mass and approximately 40 to 60 people attend the Sunday evening Mass. He is looking forward to seeing these participants this Sunday, the beginning of Holy Week. I'm Mackenzie Nolan with Sbu-Tv.
And stay tuned to the University Ministry's schedule for upcoming ceremonies after Palm Sunday.
Coming up in sports, we highlight a softball freshman and updates on men's rugby. We'll be right back.
As a mom, I want my kids' lives to be filled with joy and possibility. And I want that for every kid. That's why I support No Kid Hungry. They work in schools and communities to make sure every kid gets the healthy meals they need. Please join me in supporting No Kid Hungry for all kids.
Thank you!
The challenges our planet's animals are facing sometimes feel a bit heavy.
The animals haven't eaten in a day, 2 days. They haven't drank anything. They're cold. They're dehydrated.
But remember, there's good happening right now. At home.
All right, we were able to get into your unit, and we have all 4 of your cats. So,
okay. And around the world for any animal, any disaster. Search ifa.org/disaster ready.
I don't remember how it started.
Go to that.
Our back and forth. It always came back.
Dad!
You probably don't remember what you told me,
That was perfect.
but I heard every word.
What are you doing in there?
What's that?
I wouldn't do that. What are you doing? What are you looking for?
Welcome back to Sbu-Tv Sports. I'm Robin Stone. Let's take a look at your sports news this morning. This week, our Jeffrey Canova had the opportunity to talk to a freshman pitcher for the Bonnies softball team who tells us what it's like being an active student athlete at St. Bonaventure.
Meet Kaylee Grace, a first-year D1 Bonnie softball pitcher. But besides pitching, Kaylee does more in a community she is happy to be a part of.
I really love the community atmosphere that was presented to me when I was looking into what clubs did I want to join when I came on campus.
Kaylee participates in 7 clubs and organizations, including being the SGA treasurer for the class of 2027. However, she also collaborates with Influence Tea, an online platform that allows collegiate athletes to sell their merchandise. But what does the symbols on her merchandise mean?
The tiger represents the courageousness of having to fight for what I want and continue to persevere and push through the hard times, while the dragon was able to represent the other side of things, the wisdom and having to learn and being strategic.
For Kaylee, the tiger and the dragon define her life. Their meanings guide her while fulfilling her passion of not only performing on this field, but also actively helping the people in the clubs and organizations she engages with and supports.
I first met Kaylee Grace when she enrolled in my Bono 101 class, and from day one, she was a super dynamo.
With Club Enactus, a service program for students to improve as leaders and managers, she makes a special impact.
We were doing a special Halloween project for kids with disabilities. Kaylee did an incredible job leading her team. She just loves to lead, she loves to work, she loves to get things done. And when you have that attitude, you get stuff done.
By the time she graduates, Kaylee hopes to mark an impact on St. Bonaventure.
I knew that if I can get involved in business, I can do these things such as fundraisers. I can help on these bigger projects. I hope that I can, in the long term, become a better leader through that opportunity here I'm getting at St. Bonaventure.
For Sbu-Tv, I'm Jeffrey Canova.
Kaylee and her teammates hope to return to action soon as the snowy weather had postponed this week's Bonnies softball games. The women's lacrosse team are currently on a 2-game winning streak after defeating Duquesne at Bonaventure 19-6. Grace Hollenbeck scored 4 goals, Cassie Hogan scoring 3 goals, and Fiona McGovern adding 2 more goals. The Bonnies hope to continue their momentum when they travel to UMass to face the Minutemen. They are currently 3-0 in the A10 and 6-4 overall. You can watch the Bonnies on ESPN Plus at noon. The St. Bonaventure men's lacrosse team plays host to Marquette on Saturday in their last non-conference game. The Bonnies are looking to improve where they left off against Canisius and extend their winning streak to 2 games. The Bonnies are currently being led by graduate transfer Helen Palera, who has been lighting up the score sheet each week with 16 goals on the season. The game will be on Saturday at the Tom and Michelle Mara Athletic Field Complex. And if you can't make it, catch the game live on ESPN Plus at 1 p.m. The men's rugby team is back in action for their Spring Sevens season. The Pack prepares to travel to Mount Vernon this weekend to compete in the Old Blue Sevens on Saturday afternoon. Bonaventure looks to build off an impressive semifinal finish in the Terrapin Sevens tournament on March 9th. The start of this spring season brings a change in command as former assistant coach Danny Neighbor takes over as head coach following Tui Osborne's departure for Major League Rugby. Coach Neighbor had this to say about the team's preparation for this weekend.
Right now for the team in general is just us making sure that we're holding ourselves to a high standard. I've tried to express to them that, you know, because we're D1 athletes, we have to hold ourselves to our highest standard prioritize the right things, and working out, nutrition, sleep, looking after our bodies. We play a really physical game.
Coach Neighbor looks to continue his success coaching with St. Bonaventure, aiming to win at Mount Vernon. Bonnies baseball travels to Rhode Island looking to keep their winning streak alive. The Bonniers are coming off a win against Penn State earlier this week. St. Bonaventure led early, but the Nittany Lions came roaring back. The Bonnies held off a comeback and did earn a 9-7 victory. On a 3-game winning streak, the Brown and White will play a doubleheader on Saturday and a third game on Sunday. Games on both days begin at noon. And that's all from sports this week. Stay updated with all Bonnies sports by following us at Sbu-Tv Sports on Instagram, X, and Facebook. Back over to you guys, John East and Sydney.
And you know, John East, for it being the first weekend of spring, it sure does not feel like it. It's still snowing outside.
It's pretty crazy because social media has been blowing up this week, from Punxsutawney Phil saying he lied that we're having an early spring. And it's kind of sad for the guy. But that's all we have for you today. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time.